This is an official announcement from the Podcast Tonight Awards. Your favourite show that you're listening to right now has been officially nominated for a Podcast Tonight Award. But the power is in your hands. Amongst other categories, this show is in the running for the prestigious Listener's Choice Award, and they need your vote to win. You can show your support and help them get the recognition they deserve. The link to vote is in their show notes and bio. Go now and make your voice heard. This has been a message from Podcast Tonight, celebrating the best in audio.
Coming to you from the Freedom Federal Credit Union Studios, Harford County Living presents Conversations with Rich Bennett.
Slow picture
It's probably the least sexy part of the work. It's okay. No. The truth is.
So I've had, actually, this is your second time on.
Yeah.
Because the first time you were on with Damien.
Right.
So I've had Damien Bloss on and kept telling Alicia, and actually Damien even told Alicia that you need to come on. And as usual, Alicia just ignores the hell out of me whenever she sees me anyway. So Damien convinced you. It wasn't me. Damien convinced you, didn't he?
He didn't necessarily convince me. He scheduled it for me.
Oh,
he didn't give me an option at all. When we left the first, was it the first live podcast, I believe?
The 750s.
Yeah. As soon as we got home, I'm sitting on the sofa and I don't remember what I was doing, but I was on my phone and he was like, all right, so we have this day and you have this day. Which days would be better for you? And I'm like, what are you talking about? He said, for the podcast with Rich. And I was like, I'll deal with it later. Like, I'll look at my schedule, let's not worry about it right now. He goes, no, what day do you want?
God, I love him.
And I said, can we just, can I look at it later? Let me finish what I'm doing. There's one thing I can't stand is don't interrupt me. When I'm focused on something and you interrupt me, I am not a nice person. And so I was trying very, very hard to just maintain. And he said, all right, well, we have the day before Thanksgiving or someday in January or whatever. And I was like, just pick the one before Thanksgiving. It's fine. Well, what time? I don't care what time. So he's the one that scheduled it.
Oh, I know. I heard because you guys came to the other recording. I said something. He's like,
and I didn't even know about it. You never even told me.
I did tell you. I told you at the mental health recording.
Yeah, after it was already.
Yeah, that was like a month later.
Because I wanted to talk to you because I wasn't 100% positive that you were really going to do it.
Because he scheduled it. So when it's on my calendar, I have to do it.
So as you can tell, we have Alicia Bloss on. And she's going to talk about what it's like living with somebody that's in addiction. And then afterwards, and yes, Wendy, I did tell you because Alicia even said she would only come on if you came on.
Oh,
I did.
Like that, yeah.
That was it. Yeah.
All right,
it was.
good.
He said, "Do you want to do virtual or in person?" And I said, "I would prefer in person." And he said, I can't remember how Wendy came up, but you said, "Did you want to do it with just me or with Wendy?" And I said, "Well, do you want Wendy there to protect you, or is Wendy going to be there to protect me?"
Wait, hold up, back up. First of all, two questions there.
Yes.
Number one, why would Wendy need to protect you?
Because she makes me calm.
But what would I wouldn't do anything to you.
I didn't say that you would. I said
Now,
she
the
makes
scary
me
thing
calm.
is, why would
Just her
she
anxiety.
need to protect me?
Well,
Because I don't know, but that was the conversation that we had. I remember.
and so here I am.
So here she is.
I just, it would make it to me. It makes sense to have Wendy
Yes.
doing this because
Yes.
she was on the first one,
Yes.
and now,
Well, and I like this because I was married to someone who had an alcohol problem and our marriage did not survive. So I really am interested in hearing the story of at what point did my marriage end where yours continued, and like what that looked like for you, and like what it looks like today? Because I think that's really important, because it was very tough, and I can imagine that, you know, it probably was very tough for you as well.
Yeah.
I don't know all of the details, and you don't know all my details either,
Right.
but we can kind of like hash that out a little bit. So
Right.
anybody listening, you know, you always have two paths that you can take. And you have to pick the one that's right for you. And, you know, had things not changed, you may not be on the path that you're on. And
Right.
same with me. So I think that that's an interesting point of view for this conversation.
Right. Right. And when I was listening to the one you were doing with Damien the other day, I got it up to the, like I said, I only was able to watch about half of it, but I did get up to the part where you had specifically mentioned, because you were dealing with it with your daughter and your husband at the time. And you, as you said, you said you had, what did you say? I had to choose. And instantly my mind went to, if I feel like I would have been in the same position. It's my husband and my child, and our children to me always come first, obviously.
As a minor.
But, right. As a
Yes,
mother.
yes.
Right.
Well, as
But-
a minor, your child
as a
being
minor. Yeah,
That,
as a minor.
That was a big thing
Yeah.
too.
But my marriage has always come before everything. So trying to explain that to people it's been very difficult. Even when he was drinking, you know, my kids are my whole world. I grew up never really wanting to be a mother. I really didn't. That wasn't something that I thought that I would be good at.
Really?
Yeah. Everybody has that motherly instinct in them. I didn't have that. So when Damien and I got together and we got married, you know, we both always had the common ideology of our marriage comes first, even during his active addiction. My children, however, it's very difficult to explain. My children do come before that. So I can imagine, you know, what you were saying, going through both
well,
of them
I
at the
mean,
same time.
Whenever you know, your marriage should come first.
Right.
That's the
Yeah.
union that you have. And
Right.
then the children are a result of that. And
Right.
usually the husband and wife
person.
will work together to
Right.
deal with issues of the child.
Right.
But when you have one of the spouses that is not capable of helping you with the child because they have their own issues,
Yeah.
it does get a little muddy.
Yeah.
It really does. And so, so I think that that's a really good starting point, because for me, in my story, I did not know that there was alcohol abuse before we lived together. With you, it progressed. Is that correct?
It did.
Okay,
It did.
so why don't you take us back to there,
So-
to that starting point?
So when we first got together, it was in May of 2010. And at the time, so we had actually met a couple years before that, and I had heard stories about his drinking and stuff like that. I didn't think anything of it because, you know, we're all in our 20s at the time. And so, you know, we have our kids, but, you know, we're all separated from the parent. So, you know, we go out and do whatever we want on the weekends or whatever. And I also was drinking significantly at that point. And so it wasn't really phasing me. That
Didn't seem much
he-
different than
it
what
didn't
everybody was
seem-
doing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It didn't seem any different. And it took a couple of years before I really realized just how bad it was. And because when I drank, I would drink at night after the kids went to bed.
Okay.
I never drank unless I was out during the day with my friends, but I never drank in front of my children. I didn't. If we went to a party or something, I was more of the closeted alcoholic. Whereas he was like, all right, well, everybody knows I'm doing it, so I'm just going to drink. But
Right.
to the extent of him hiding it wasn't until we moved the third time, I think, I started finding it was probably like 5 years in, the little minis hiding in random places. I would find full-blown bottles of vodka in his car. He would take
This is very,
he would take
similar
his
situation.
his lunchbox, you know, throw a sandwich in there to make me think he was taking a lunch to work, and I'd find the rings of the 6-packs in his lunchbox. And so it was probably, I think it was like the third time we had moved. We were already married, so it was probably about 5 years in that I realized how extreme it was, because the first 5 years it was bad.
Yeah.
It was, he was constantly drinking. I didn't know what I was going to come home to that day. I didn't know, who I was going to wake up to. But I didn't see those patterns right away. I think I was still blinded, in all honesty, of, I've finally met this man that I love and who loves me, and we have this family and everything's great, and we're broke, we're trying to make ends meet, but we have each other. And once I started finding those little things, I started paying more attention, and I noticed he would start drinking at 6 o'clock in the morning when he would get up. He would get up really early. We both had to be to work like 8, 9 o'clock. I would take one kid to school. He would take the other one. But he would get up before I did so he could drink beforehand. Because if he didn't, he would start the shakes and everything. Like, he would instantly start going through withdrawal.
Wow.
And this is not uncommon. I mean, it's very I'm trying to, the story's not uncommon. Everybody's situation is a little bit different. Right. So, like, for me, I had no idea that there was drinking problem at all. Like, when you first meet somebody, they have a couple beers like you would normally do when you go out. And then during our home time, he never really drank. Like, he would have a beer on the coffee table and he would not even finish it. Do you know what I mean? Wow. And I was just kind of like, okay, whatever. Like, just, people could have a beer during the game or whatever. But I started seeing signs in a different way. Like, I would find empties stuff, but not right away. I think it was the smell. There was a constant
There's a
smell.
Constant smell. Yep.
And it's like almost like
it comes out
dragon
of their pores.
breath. Yeah, it's like, but it was like vodka or whatever the choice, the alcohol was, and that was to me kind of like, no one else smells like this. No one else smells like this. So why, and I think that the denial piece was really strong in my relationship. I don't know how that was with you, because now you're noticing these signs. Are you actually approaching him with this?
I tried a couple of times. So I call it the first and second time that he tried to get sober. The first time was, and I know he's mentioned it before and it was in his book, but he had gone to work and he called me and he was, crying. He was all upset. And I was like, what's going on? And he told me that he was going home. I went home and we had a long talk. And, that was the first time. And I thought he had laid everything out. And then it was probably maybe 2 weeks in. I went to take the trash out, found a bag in the trash outside, the big bins outside. And there was an empty 40 in there. And a couple little minis in our trash can, where, clearly nobody's going to put their stuff in our trash can outside. And to be honest, that was the first time I confronted him. And that had been 5-6 years in. All the other times I made excuses.
Right.
I ignored. I realized, I thought, he's going through something, he's always got the weight of the world on his shoulders, and, just let him do what he has to do. He'll figure it out. That was the first time that I was like, oh, this is worse than I really thought. Like, he couldn't even last 2 weeks. So then go like a year or so later, he goes through the whole process again. That's the second time he tries to get sober. That one, I don't think he lasted but a week. Went to a wedding and I saw him go up to the bar and get a drink, and I lost it. Instead of confronting him, I chose to drink. And even though he was trying to get sober at the time, and that was like not a deal for him, but I said, you know what, if you can get through this, then, I'll do it with you.
Right.
But instead I was like, no, screw you. And I got plastered at the wedding. And it still wasn't until like, it was like the next day, I think, if I remember correctly, I remember standing on the back deck and screaming at him about it. And I have very bad temper, but I don't like to yell. If that makes any sense. I have a very good customer service voice. So that's what we call it. Yeah,
that's the scary one.
Yes.
Yeah, I was the complete opposite. Here's where the rage comes in.
Yeah. I was screaming at him, and I distinctly remember saying, "If I can do this, why can't you?"
Mm-hmm.
And his eyes got really big, and he goes, "Because you're not me. This isn't your problem. This is my problem." And then a couple more years later, and then here we are. So it wasn't often that I did confront him.
Right. Well, let me ask you, because, during active addiction, when you have a loved one that's in active addiction, they're not present.
No.
And neither are you. Mm-mm. So for me, having a spouse that's drinking and a daughter that's using drugs, I was living in perpetual worry. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I was never living my life. Mm-hmm. So how, because you keep going from like, he tried here, and then we have another year, and then he tried here, and then we have another year, and then we had another year. So that's your tolerance for this was pretty strong, because I was like not able to function. So how did you function during that time, knowing that this was happening like behind the scenes?
I became very desensitized.
Okay.
Very. I put that wall back up. It was the wall that, only certain people are allowed to push past, that he was able to break down. And immediately, after a few years, that wall slowly started coming back up. I had zero feelings towards anything.
Was there resentment?
Yes, there was. Okay. I was very, very resentful. I was very angry, but I couldn't let any of that out. That makes sense? Yeah. Like I couldn't express, because I think I was afraid that if I said something, it was going to make it more real. You know what I mean? Like I was afraid that if I said something to a family member about how bad he really was, or if I tried to get him help myself, that it was just going to make the situation more real. And I realized that
So you were in denial.
I was in total denial. Like I saw what was going on, but I also realized I had to take a step back from trying to take care of him and protect him, because I needed to take care of myself and protect myself and my children. But I was in a constant state of denial, and then zero feelings towards anything. He would try to pick fights with me. In all honesty, in 15 years, we've only argued once or twice. Like actually argued. And the one time he was really drunk, he said something stupid, pissed me off. And I went upstairs and I started ripping our wedding pictures off the wall. And he walked up behind me and, said something else stupid. And so I took one of them and I slammed it against his leg and, cut his leg open. And then the other time was the day he told me he was getting sober. But that was more me screaming at him. But we've never really argued. And he would try to pick fights with me to make himself feel better. That's what he would say.
That's like the thing where the gaslighting happens. And yeah. So there was a lot of that. But I wasn't in denial. I knew what was happening. And I was told that I was crazy, that I didn't know what I was talking about. And when someone does that to you over a long period of time, you do start to question yourself. Yeah. And not only that, I had the marriage with, drenched in alcohol. And then I had the relationship with my daughter, which was nothing but lies at that time. So I was kind of like, everyone told me I was crazy. And so you're like, how can I be the crazy one when those guys are running around behind my back doing all of these things? And so, again, that's where I was angry. I didn't keep my mouth shut about it. And because as a result of that, I think I pissed him off so much that he actually left. And that day, I mean, he never came back into the marriage. And I don't think that he would have gotten sober, to be honest with me, because there was so much anger in the relationship. And it wasn't really, wasn't mad at me. He was mad at himself.
Right.
So, yeah. So I, having said that, holding all of this resentment that you have. And so now he's, for the third time, telling you he's going to get sober. What did that look like?
Completely different. There's a look that addicts have when they tell you that they want to get sober. It's a calming look on their face when I can tell when somebody is very serious about doing it. I have seen the difference, especially now that it's been almost 6 years, and I've met tons of people that have been in current recovery or just fresh out of rehab or whatever. They have a different look on their face. And that last time when I got home and I sent the kids upstairs and I just pushed them against a wall and I started yelling at them and saying, you need to do this, do that, do whatever, but I can't do this anymore. I'm done. He had this peaceful look on his face. And as soon as he said, I've already called Ashley treatment, I just dropped. I just broke. My heart just shattered, but in all the good ways, because I could see it in his face. It didn't, there was just this peace that
you believed
wiped.
him.
Yeah. It was the first time in almost 10 years that I did believe him. Every other time, anything that came out of that man's mouth, I didn't believe anything.
Right.
It didn't matter. He could tell me he loved me until I was blue in his face, or until he was blue in his face. I didn't believe him, because how could you love somebody if you're going behind their back and you're doing this and you are watching her crumble and try to take care of the entire house and take care of all 3 of the kids and pay all of the bills all by herself because you're too busy spending your money on your alcohol? How could you tell somebody you love them that? So nothing he ever said did I ever believe until that day, because the peace he had that came over him was
like a new person.
It was really weird. I can still just picture the calmness on him. And then, of course, the panic ensued 2 or 3 days before we had to go, because.
How long was it before they gave him a bed?
Almost 5 days. I think I dropped him off on February 18th, 17th, 18th, and it was on the 13th of February.
So what did those 5 days look like?
I was terrified that I was more terrified that something was going to happen to him than him drink again.
So did he start to go through withdrawal at that point?
Yes.
Okay.
Now, if I realized that if he was definitely going to go and if he was going to drink between that day he was going or between the day that he told me and the day that he went, as long as he still goes. That's all I kept thinking. As long as he still goes, because I've watched enough Intervention on A&E to realize that nobody goes to these things sober. So if that's what it is, that's what it is. But he didn't drink, and the withdrawal terrified me. Clearly,
it is scary.
It was
to watch somebody.
I should,
and it's very dangerous.
It is very dangerous.
It's very dangerous.
And yeah, I know looking back, obviously, thankfully he was fine, but I probably should have just taken him to the hospital and let him go through it there. But that's what I was more afraid of, is that at that point he was going to be so stubborn and not drink.
Well, there's
his
the risk of
seizures.
Yeah. There's a lot of things involved. Yeah. So, that's good.
The other thing too, if you would have taken him to the hospital and he was due at Ashley in 5 days, you have no idea how long they would have kept him in the hospital either.
I
No.
don't even know if hospitals. It's rare if they would detox somebody, especially.
Well, not just the detox, but if something else happened, like if he's in the hospital, and then, like you said, like if he had seizures or whatever, then that's further tests they have to do. There's.
I don't honestly. I didn't think about it that way, but I don't think they keep people in there
Yeah,
that
they
long
don't
anymore.
really. They don't.
No.
And yeah. So okay. So he went to Ashley. How was his experience there? Because we're all very familiar with.
It was amazing. For me, at least.
Yes.
Let me tell you, it was the best 28 days sleep
Yep.
I've ever had in my entire life.
I hear you.
But it was the first time I got to see him, because it was right at the start of COVID, so they took away the regular visits that they could do. But they did get to do the family weekend, and we had to limit so the kids couldn't go with me because COVID, you have to limit the amount of people that are there. So I went, and God, this was probably maybe 2 weeks in, and he just looked like a totally different person the first time I saw him. And he's like, I've learned this, I've learned that, I've read this book, I've read that book. I'm like, you're actually doing this? And he said, yeah. He said, I got here, and within the first couple of days, he's like, if I'm going to do this, this is what I need to do. And
That's awesome.
He did. He started reading all of the books, learning all of these things. They go through, and I like Ashley because they also teach you how addiction is a disease.
Yes.
And they teach you the scientific parts of it. And that was great, because it's not even just them teaching the addicts that they
Family.
showed us
Yep,
how to do
I went
it.
to the family
And I
weekend
love
as well.
that.
Yeah.
Because that made me realize, I'm like, this
Opens
makes
your eyes.
Yeah, it makes so much more
It
sense.
takes the anger and it kind of puts a lid on it.
It does.
Like, all right, wait a minute. You're angry over here and everything's all boiling over. But
Right.
wait a minute. Maybe we need to turn the fire off
Right.
and figure out why it is. And for me, and I've said this a million times, yeah, of course I knew what addiction was. Of course I did. I'm a grown woman. Of course I do. But did I know the hold that it can have on a person? No.
No.
I had no perspective of that, and here I was sandwiched in between two people that were struggling the same, but with very different substances, and I got a crash course big time in all of that, and it wasn't easy at all, and I probably still need therapy. I think I do, because I'm so triggered with everyday stuff, worrying about people. To this day, if I can't get a hold of someone, my mind goes to worst case scenario.
Yep.
And I have every right to believe that because it actually has happened to me. But, you have to, again, you're not being present when you're living in a state of worry. And I'm still in that state of worry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Subconsciously.
I still do the same thing. There are certain sounds and certain smells will still set me off. The sound of a Coke can opening.
Like a beer.
Really?
Because it sounds like a beer can. So he would be in the kitchen, and he would try to hide the beer can under his shirt, and you can't really hear the tab opening. Well, I can still hear it. So if somebody's in the other room and I hear that, if they're in front of me, it's one thing because clearly I can see what it is. But if I hear it and it's in the other room, it will instantly set me. So there are things that Ashley did teach us. And then, of course, we've had to learn ourselves that as much as he has those triggers, he understands that I also have them. And that there are things that he knew that he would do previously that he had to stop, not just for himself, but for me.
Right.
If he has to go to get gas at Sheetz, he would go and he would sit there for an hour. He would sit at pump 5 and he would just drink. But now when he does that, he's literally back in 10 minutes, however long it takes.
Right.
Yeah.
So because he knows that by him going somewhere, something simple as that, will instantly
it was a
still
lie before.
right.
Yeah.
And it's still because there's things that he can't avoid. He can't avoid not going to get gas. He can't avoid sometimes not drinking a soda, but he has to, or he had to understand that it's not just what the addict deals with. It's what we deal with on the outside or afterwards. And there has to be that common, what is it? Understanding
Yeah.
between the two.
Well, and I think that this is where, your story changes from mine, because at that point, we had, Ashley treatment. We had a couple other treatments, centers. I had a young child and I had a daughter, and I had to kind of pick and choose, what was going to be able to, I couldn't handle it all. So I had to pick what I could handle, at that time. So now you've got this marriage that, you love this person, but there's been a lot of damage. And I will tell you that those resentments do not fall off easily.
No.
And now I think what I'm hearing from you is the communication, because I think that's really beautiful that you guys are paying attention enough to each other's triggers. And that's where I think a lot of people, the relationship severs. So what makes that relationship with you guys different? Like, why is that different?
I think a lot of that is I understand a little bit more about what he went through and why he went through it. Because so I also clearly live with mental health issues, and I just within the last 2 years got diagnosed with ADD and OCD after 30 some years of, trying to figure out what was going on with me. And of course, I have anxiety, panic disorder, depression, all of that. I knew why I drank at the time. I knew that was the only way that I could make the playlist in my head stop.
Right.
And so I think I understood a little bit more than some people would, because I knew why I did it. Right. Okay. So I figured, okay, this is why he's doing it. When he was in Ashley, that's when when I told him that, I will do this with you, because I knew that if I kept going the way that I was doing, the way that I was drinking, it was not going to be good for him at all. And they're still, after a couple of years, I'm still slightly salty about it, because in the back of my mind, I don't have a drinking problem. I'm not the one that had to go to rehab. I'm not the one that, is quote unquote an alcoholic. But then when I tell people my side of my story, specifically how much I drank, I would hide it from everybody. When I tell people, I would drink 5-6 drinks at night, nobody believed me. Nobody knew that, because
they
was
weren't
more
seeing,
of the closet. Because
they weren't
didn't
seeing
see
it.
Right.
What was the go-to drink for you?
I could really drink almost anything. I like the liquor better than anything else. I never liked the taste or the smell of beer. Hated all of that. Though when you were talking about the smell, like certain smells, that's one of them. But anyway, so I think I understood a little bit more about what he was going through. And I totally lost track of what I was going with that. But
that's okay. What makes your marriage different?
Yes.
You're listening to Conversations with Rich Bennett. We'll be right back. I want to tell you about my friends over at Elite Power Washing. They take care of pressure washing, house washing, roof cleaning, gutter cleaning. They are truly the elite company when it comes to pressure washing. To see their work, to see what they've done, everything looks brand new. And there are even a lot of businesses out there that use them as well. Sean and Tina and their crew know what they're doing. They know how to make your property look like it's brand new. And again, I mean, they handle everything. Pressure washing, house washing, which, yes, there is a difference. Roof cleaning, gutter cleaning, window cleaning, concrete cleaning, paver cleaning, deck cleaning. So whether you're in Baltimore, Harford, or Cecil County, if you need something taken care of when it comes to pressure washing, call the Elite power washing team. They will get it done for you. They are the exterior cleaning professionals. They know what they're doing. Go to elitepowerwashingmd.com or call them at 410-705-9274. Again, it's 410-705-9274. Tell them Rich from Harford County Living sent you.
I think, again, it's because I understood a little bit more. So when I chose to get sober with him, and I always tell people I am sober, he is in recovery.
Okay.
There's a
There's a total difference.
Well, for the listeners, explain that.
So my thought of being sober is I've chosen to live this life
Free of drugs and alcohol.
Free of drugs and alcohol on my own.
Mm-hmm.
That it didn't take
the
it's
rock
going to sound
bottom.
hard. Yeah, it didn't take that rock bottom. I didn't have to go to rehab. I didn't have to go to meetings. If somebody were to come to me and say, "Hey, I need to go to a meeting," absolutely, I will go to one with you, just as Damien would.
Right.
But he had to go through all of those steps.
Right.
And his recovery is harder, I guess you want to say.
It's a daily choice.
It is.
Right.
Where my sobriety is, it could hit me every couple of months and I'd be out somewhere. I'm like, God, I could really use a drink right now.
Right.
And with, his is an everyday thing.
He can't have that drink.
He can't, no. Right. And because he has the one drink today, he'll have 2 tomorrow, 3 the next day, 4 the next day. If I were to have a drink, I'd have 1 today, and then in about 10 minutes, I'd have another one, and then 10 minutes, I have another one, and I would just black out, and then I'd go another 6 months without drinking. So that's my difference between sobriety and recovery.
Well, it's a binge drinking type of thing,
yes.
I would imagine.
Yes.
But there are a lot of people out there, too, that they chose to be sober and never even touched a drop of alcohol. So that you can't say they're in recovery, but they are sober.
They're sober, right?
So,
yeah.
I mean, there is a big difference. A lot of people don't realize that. I want to go back a little bit here and talk about, when you both were drinking, how was it for work and how were the kids? Because the kids had to see this, but work had to be hard too.
Kids didn't know.
They didn't know what was going on.
No, I sheltered.
With him or both?
With both. I did everything I could to hide everything from the kids and from our parents and our friends.
But how was employment affected for both of you?
We never had an issue.
Really? Because and the reason I asked is when you said he would get up at 6 o'clock and start drinking.
He would. So he would. The only issue he ever had was the time. One of the times that he tried to get sober, and he went to his manager and he was like, I need to leave. This is what's going on. And the manager said, well, I'm glad you said something because we realized there was an issue. We were going to let you go.
Oh.
But that's one of the reasons why we do what we do. Yeah. Because addiction, mental illness does not have a face.
Right.
Nobody would have ever guessed looking at Damien 10 years ago, minus his disheveled hair and probably didn't shave for a couple of days, that he was an alcoholic, because he doesn't look like one. He doesn't look like somebody who would be sitting at the liquor store at 8:30 in the morning waiting for them to open. He doesn't look like someone who would pass out at 8 o'clock at night with a drink in his hand, or, leave his cup on the counter with the alcohol in it to make sure that he has it for the next morning. He doesn't look like someone who would drink a 30-pack during a Ravens football game.
Yeah.
And so that's why I think that we never really had the issues that a lot of people say that they did. We didn't lose.
Do you consider yourself an enabler during this time?
I absolutely was.
That's
And I think, and again, when you did the interview with him the other day, it made me remember when I was during Ashley, there was, we had to break up in groups, and it wasn't with the addicts, it was just the family members. And one of the questions that we had to answer and then asked the other people in the group was something about being an enabler. And one of the stories that somebody brought up was the addict having to pick up the kid from like school or wherever, right? And I said that makes you an enabler. If me has to go, the sober person has to go pick up the kid all the time, I'm enabling that addict to be like, oh, well, they're just,
or you're protecting your child.
and see, that's where it gets to be like a really tricky spot because but that made me remember that because that's what I realized.
Take on this role.
Yeah.
We're trying to keep them alive.
Exactly.
And, there were times when my daughter was using and there, you're not even going to believe the places it took me, honestly. And because I was trying to get her to the next phase.
Yeah.
So, being with someone who's needs to get high before they get on an airplane to go to wherever, Mom, I'm not going to be able to handle the airplane unless I use because I'm going to start going through detox. Am I proud of what I did? I drove her somewhere. I'll never forget. This was like a crazy ass story, but we get there and she jumps out of the car. No phone, no purse. Like she just jumps out of the car. And I'm like, if you're getting Suboxone, you need to bring the little container back so I can see that that's like literally. And she goes into this apartment building. And I'm sitting here and I'm like, I have no way of getting in touch with her. I have no idea where she went in there. And I'm like literally like feel like I'm staking out the apartment building. And I'm like, what, like this is obviously a place where people go to get illegal drugs. And I'm sitting here in a car like a sitting duck. Wow. And of course she comes not right back out. And I was like, a mess. And I was like, did you bring the little, oh no, they didn't want to give that to me. And I'm just like, whatever. Okay, fine. The goal was to get her on an airplane. You know what I mean? So like those types of stories, I was enabling, but I was trying to protect, to get to the next phase of this horrible disease. And nobody expects to ever be put in that situation, but you do not know the lengths that you'll go for your child or your loved one.
Exactly.
Honestly.
Exactly. I mean, when I say I took care of everything, I took care of everything. He didn't have to do a damn thing. He didn't have to lift a finger. I never asked him for money. I worked a full-time job. I worked at AAA for 15 years or so, and it wasn't a great paying job, but, it paid the bills. I took care of everything. I'm the one that, had the house cleaned. I did the laundry. I took care of the kids. I picked up the kids. I dropped off the kids. And so it's like when I hear that enabling, some people don't realize that us trying to take care of them,
you're doing things that they should be able to do for themselves.
Exactly. Like we just want to make sure that they're okay. So, but that is still a form of enabling only because they know that we're going to do it for them. So then you go through something like that and you're trying to do for your loved one, take them wherever they need to go or do this or do that. And then when that particular instance is all said and done, then you're thinking to yourself, oh God, I did it again, didn't I? Like they should just be able to do this on their own. And then you're like, no, because if they did it on their own, they'd probably screw it all up. So I need to help them. And then it's
right.
Exactly. Like it's like, it is a no-win situation when you're dealing with somebody that is in active addiction because you don't, you want to do everything that you can to help them because you love them. And when it's your spouse, I choose to love that man. I didn't, my kids are my kids. I love my kids and they are my heart and there's no choosing to love them because it's just there. It's always going to be there.
Exactly.
When you have a spouse or a partner that is in addiction and you choose to stay and you choose to love them, it's that constant battle between,
good and evil.
It is. It is a constant. And I think that's why it took the last year or so. When I say I was numb. And the day I dropped him off at Ashley, I got home and I cried the hardest I had cried since the day my mother passed away, which was like 4 years before that. And I didn't.
It was just a release.
It was because I knew he was safe.
You had all that stuff built up inside you.
I knew he was safe. I knew he was somewhere that at least for a month.
Well, and
he
for
would
the
be
first time in a
okay.
really long time, because I had similar situations, I could actually be present in my own life for this moment. Like, I am not like worried about what someone else is doing. Are they sleeping too much? Or should I go check on them? Or where did they go? How, should I check in? Why aren't they answering their phone? Like, all of these things are just like a constant state of worry. So then guess what? Someone took them and did the ultimate thing. They're keeping them safe and you don't have to. You get a break for a minute.
Exactly.
And people don't understand that.
They don't.
It's exhausting.
Yeah. Constant back and forth. And I finally, for the first time in my entire life, had time to concentrate on myself. And that was not just between our marriage. It was the life I led before him, because I was always walking on eggshells around people. I was always afraid to tell people what was really going on in my mind. So him going away, it was that sigh of relief. And I was like, I can finally let me take care of me. And 6 months later, I'm still, from that point on, I'm still in therapy. And I'm like, you know what? You had your 10 years of fun in our marriage. Give me my 10 years. But I'm still trying to work through all of that. And
it takes a long time. It takes a lifetime to heal.
And
it
you
does.
have to have that partner or the family member understand that.
Yeah.
And that's another thing that when we do go to rehab facilities and they, a lot of the patients will ask me the same questions too. And I have to get them to understand, look, you might think a lot of people go home from rehab and they'll think everything's going to be hunky-dory because I'm sober now and my mother or my father or my wife or husband, they just have to deal with this and this is what it's going to be like and they don't have to worry about me anymore. But that's not the case.
No,
because
there's a lot of healing that has
there's
to happen.
a lot, and both sides have to be very understanding about that. So when I do get asked, how come I stayed and how come, I didn't just pack up and leave or whatever, it's because I knew that there was something inside of him that could bring this out.
Let's flip it. Okay. Why didn't you leave is the question that people ask you. Why did you stay?
Originally, I stayed because I felt, how do I word this? I felt like I deserved the pain that he was putting me through.
Why?
Yes. I felt it's very difficult to explain. So I grew up obviously in the world where, our parents' generation, mental health means nothing.
Right.
My mother was very unmentally well. And the bulk of my life while she was alive was her telling me that, everything was my fault. My parents' divorce was my fault. She had wished that I was never born because if I was never born and my brother was never born, then she never would have met my dad, blah, 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 all that.
That's a lot to carry.
You're right.
Yeah.
So the bulk of my life, I always thought that I deserved the worst things to happen to me. So when Damien comes into my life, I'm fresh out of fresh into a separation, whatever, from my first husband. And he was like this breath of fresh air, somebody that noticed me for me, somebody that, made me not feel like I was just,
a problem.
A problem. But then when he started to get really, it just kept getting worse, I thought, well, this is it.
This is my life.
This is exactly. Like maybe my mother was right this whole time. Maybe everything is my fault. So I felt like at first I stayed because I felt like I deserved it. I felt like everything was my fault. It depends on the day.
No.
But no, I felt like me staying was because I deserved all of the worst things to happen because that's what I was led to always believe
Right.
about myself. But I also stayed because I think because I understood the difference and, clearly not the scientific end of the whole addiction thing, but like I knew what he was going through. I never thought that I could save him. It was never anything like that. But I just saw that there was something different about him, that this addiction was not my husband and that it took over him. So that was the original. And then towards the end, that is why I continued to stay, because I started to realize that it wasn't
I'm
him.
sure. I mean, I'm not sure, but I can imagine that you have a very different relationship right now as your marriage is. I would imagine that it feels like you kind of had to probably get to know each other all over again.
Yes. It was
How was that? And how has it changed now? Like, I mean, of course you can never go back,
right.
But this is a whole new Damien and Alicia. Like,
we've had to learn each other all over again.
Love was stronger though, didn't it?
It did, and my tolerance for him
you might realize that you don't in that situation.
Yeah, but he annoys me just as he ever would, because he's a man. And men don't really think straight half the time, but
I'm sitting right here.
I'm aware. I'm well aware. No, we've had to literally learn everything all over again. Learn each other all over again, learn ourselves all over again. And, because they always say you can't truly love somebody until you love yourself.
Yep.
And so there are days that I think he loves me more than I love him, or vice versa, because it all depends on what's going on up here. But we've literally had to just relearn everything, and it's been interesting say the least, because it's a little weird relearning somebody that you've already built such a life with. And so what years, this is funny, so we've been together, oh my god, we'll be together 16 years in May. Ew, that sounds weird. I don't know why, but that number's, it's like, we should have a sweet 16 anniversary party.
There you go.
I'll let you know what happens. But anyway,
well, I mean, what you're saying, I mean, it makes sense. And you do have to, like, you had to find something that you liked in there to begin with, because a lot of times there's nothing left. And I'm not saying that to be
no, you're absolutely
cruel.
Correct.
And we tend to outgrow people, and that happens as well. But what I'm saying is, it's like making a conscious decision to make it work is a beautiful thing. And it wasn't just having to learn to like each other again or get to know each other again. There had to be some deep love there, because, again, unconditional love for someone other than your child is hard.
It's very, because it's a learned thing, and it's an everyday thing. So I always say, as much as he has to, every day say, I'm not going to drink today. I'm not going to drink today. Most of the time I'm awake, I have to say, I have to love Damien today. I have to love Damien today. Even if he leaves his socks on the floor again today, I will love him today.
That's funny.
But there is. He is this God help me. He is such an amazing human being, and he has always, even during his drinking, he would put other people first. Never me. He never put me first. But he would put everybody else above him. He would do anything to help anybody, even during his addiction. And I think that's why it was so difficult for him for so long. For over 20 years, he had to deal with this, because he was a constant, as much as we have to battle, he was constantly battling. Yeah. And he's such a good person. And he loves.
You both made an agreement to work on yourselves.
Yeah.
Because if he would have just came home, he wouldn't have, maybe, he's not drinking, but he's still not doing anything.
But you can see that he's taking
and you're
those
taking
steps.
care of everything. Like, that's not really changing the dynamic of the relationship. So when you have two people that are willing to put in the work, that's what makes the difference. You know, you can't have someone who thinks you're the problem. You're still the problem even after I came out of rehab.
Right.
And when that happens, you're fighting a battle that you're never going to win.
Right. And he has taken accountability. There are still some things after all this time that we don't talk about, or that I don't bring up, because I know that if he knows just how bad he really hurt me, it would break him. So there are still things that, I don't discuss with him, because I don't want to trigger
something. Yeah.
Right. Because the last thing that man ever wants to do is to hurt somebody.
Yeah.
He's never wanted that. And I, of course, at that point, don't want to hurt him.
And some things don't need to be.
Exactly. Some things don't. It's things, and that's why I'm still in therapy, because there are things that I use her, and she is amazing. She was actually his therapist before he went into rehab. So when he mentions that the therapist that he had to go back to and apologize to for lying, that's also my therapist.
Oh, wow.
Because during COVID, when everybody was having mental breakdowns, I couldn't find anyone.
Right. Yeah.
So he was like, just call.
Her.
He's like, just call her. And I was like, isn't that
a conflict?
Yeah. So I called her, and I had already talked to her a couple of times when he was in rehab. And she was like, as long as Damien says it's fine, then I'm fine with it. And I said, it was his idea.
Right.
So here I am almost 6 years later. And, it's interesting because it's actually been a lot more beneficial, because she knows
I was just saying,
him.
It's probably easier for you.
It had, yeah. So when certain things start to trigger in my mind,
She knows it.
she'll know exactly why that is because of him. And it's not just me talking to somebody who doesn't, only knows one side of the story. She knows literally both sides.
It's like you have therapy for yourself, and at the same time, almost like marriage counseling at the same time.
Kind of. Yeah. Yeah. We did try that once when he was still drinking, and we stopped going. He blamed it on the fact that the doctor, the certain session that we had, he was like, I didn't like how he treated you. And I knew right then and there, I'm like, that's not the reason. The reason is because he called you out on your bullshit and you didn't like it.
Right.
So we did try once.
a good friend of mine told me a long time ago, and I truly believe this. Marriage is where you grow up. So if you want to make it work, you're going to have to grow together. And you grow up. So, not that every relationship is fixable.
It's not. And that's okay.
But you have to be willing to grow together separately. And together.
Right.
And that's what you guys have done. And I think it's really beautiful. I mean, I see the friendship in you guys. Like when I've seen you, like when we did the live podcast, you guys, you come in as a couple and you come in strong. And I really like that. I think it's beautiful.
He is my best friend.
You can tell.
Really
you can tell.
I'm glad you brought that up, the live podcast. How hard, and I didn't even think about that until we were sitting here talking, but how hard, talking about triggers, how hard was that for you guys? Because you came to two of them, and it's in a canteen at the American Legion. How hard was that for both of you?
I worry about that for people.
Me too.
I really do. I do.
It depends on the situation. It's not something like that doesn't faze us.
Nobody's offering you drinks or anything.
Yeah. It's a completely different, because for something like doing your live podcast, we are there for a purpose.
Right.
So, you
didn't go in to go sit at the bar.
Exactly. Now, each one of us has totally different reactions to being around something.
Right.
When we are at like a family member's house or whatever, especially for him early on, that was really hard for him to be over at, either my brother's house or his brother's house, where alcohol is just out in the open. That was very difficult for him. And it's not like keywords, but like I can see it in his face. He can see it in my face, vice versa. And, like, all right, cool. We got to go. Like, this is right. Because of my business, I go to a lot of events where people in this business, they enjoy the
cocktail.
Oh, they enjoy the cocktails and all the other things. And it's very difficult for me because a lot of them are at bars or things like that. So when I go to these bars and I don't have my husband there with me, I'm watching everybody having fun, and I can't differentiate between, okay, I'm here for business, I'm not here for fun. So my brain automatically thinks, I miss this.
You're not having fun.
I'm not having fun. But if he's with me, that's why I bring him to a lot of my events now, because then I don't think about that.
You have a sober buddy.
I have him. And so we have to have each other for a lot of them, but it's two totally different ways that we look at them.
Do you think, because I have noticed this with some restaurants and bars and events, you're seeing more mocktails. Do you think that could be one of the reasons? And even, because just to give you an idea, so my next door neighbor, he doesn't drink at all, but he'll come over once a month. We'll do like a bourbon night. Mm-hmm. And I felt so bad. It's like, I found this non-alcoholic bourbon. I was like, I should get this for him because just to see if
that's
he
like
like the old
decaf
fashions.
Coffee. What's the point?
Well, it tastes like Does
bourbon.
It? Oh yeah, they have non-alcoholic
trigger?
bourbon, non-alcoholic.
Is that a trigger?
Vodka, tequila.
That's why a lot of people.
He just doesn't drink because he doesn't just like the taste of alcohol.
Okay.
Period.
Oh.
But a lot of these mocktails are using that stuff.
Oh.
And I'm wondering if that's why a lot of these bars and restaurants are doing it. And I read a study somewhere where they said like the drinking in clubs of actual alcohol, the amount has gone down.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm not really sure I believe that.
I don't believe it either.
No, I hadn't heard that.
And they said it's because you're seeing more mocktails than anything.
Well, back in the day when I waitress, many moons ago, that was when O'Doul's was a big thing, the beer. But do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It was like, what made the person get that versus the other? Was it because they wanted to just feel like they fit in to all their buddies having a drink?
Yeah.
Or, I mean, I don't know. Like, I tasted it, but it tasted like watered down beer, I guess.
I'm also seeing, too, like, the penalties against a bartender and bar are very strict now if somebody should leave and get a DUI.
Right.
Now that bartender can be held liable. Mm-hmm. It never used to be that way.
About that kind of
Even if somebody comes into the bar and they're already drunk and you don't serve them and they leave, you can still be held liable.
I've heard things like that before. God, we would have been in so much trouble back then.
Oh, yeah, that's one of the one of the things that scares me about tending bars sometimes.
Yeah.
It's like,
because some people you can't really even tell,
No, you can't.
how bad they really are.
Some people can just have one beer and they're done.
Yeah. I went out to dinner. One of my coworkers, one of my best friends, she turned 40 a couple weeks ago, and we went to some really fancy restaurant down in the city. And I actually got to wear like a dress. I was all dolled up. It was great. But of course, they're all having a couple of cocktails, and at the end, the waitress came over and she went to hand everybody champagne. And, because it was for her birthday, so we were all going to toast. Well, she put it down in front of me, and I immediately put it off to my left because I was on the end. And she goes, "Oh, no, that's not alcoholic." And my friend next to me, she was like, "Oh, are they all non-alcoholic?" Not like it would have mattered. They would have been fine with that. And she goes, "No, just that one. I heard that she doesn't drink."
Oh, wow.
Not that she's not drinking today, because DD or whatever, but she flat out said, "I heard you say," pointing to me, "that you don't drink. So I brought this out for you."
Nice.
Wow.
And so it's like the old duels thing. Like she did that to make me feel like I was included.
Right.
And I was was like, that's actually really, now I got to clink the glasses and everything. It was great. I did. I felt like I was,
A part of it.
a part of something. And so, yeah, it depends on the situation, but we both have two, like I said, two totally different scenarios that.
So what
are
advice
difficult.
would you give to families going through that who that ultimately want to stay together? They want to stick it out. Like, what would be the most the best advice that you could provide?
I don't know, honestly, because I wholeheartedly believe that if a situation is not healthy for you or your children, then that's okay.
Yes,
To not
I agree
stay.
with that, yes.
Our situation was just different. I was never scared of him. He never laid a hand on me or the kids or anything. So in those types of circumstances, any advice that I could give would be to take care of yourself first. And then, get that help, get that, if you have to go to therapy, if, your partner or whoever goes to rehab, speak to the counselors there. Just as much as that addict has to learn why they are the way they are, the family and the friends have to also learn why they are that way. And if you can learn to figure out what those triggers are, and if you're willing to do it, then by all means, just work with them, and as long as they work with you, it's a lot, like I keep
Right.
saying, it's all the communication, which clearly I am not always great at communication, but because I do still tend to keep a lot of things in, and I don't
That takes
talk.
practice too.
It's not the easiest
Yeah.
thing in the
not.
world. And he gets mad at me. My therapist gets mad at me because I just you know what? Screw it. I'm just not going to say anything. I'm going to keep it to myself then. And he's like, but that's not what you can
I'm the
do.
opposite. I'll tell it like it is, and then I usually don't make friends that way.
Yeah. No, I hold everything in. Everything. And so it depending on the circumstances, obviously, but it's just
It's work.
understanding.
And it's work. You have to put in the work.
And if you don't want to, then that's
okay
don't.
too.
That's
Don't do it.
okay. That's okay.
Make sure you know what you're working towards.
Right.
Honestly, if
Right.
if you're in it to win it together, that's great. But if you're not,
If you feel
then
like you're the only one that's still
Putting in the
doing
effort,
it,
yep.
even though that person is sober and you can see they're making the changes in their life, but they're not trying to make any changes in your marriage or your relationship or your family,
that's
then
a deciding
that's okay.
point.
Yeah.
Yep.
If he had come home and I had seen him doing the work on himself and us not being able to have these conversations that we do now or anything like that, I can probably say then that would have been it.
Well, thank you. I'm glad I was.
I was going to ask you if you had any more questions. I got to do with her what I did with Damien.
What?
Oh, what?
You got to pick a number between 1 and 100 for the last question.
Oh,
And I don't know what it's going to be unless you pick the same damn number that he did. Pick a high number.
Probably not. 33.
Okay. Why
you
33?
remember what number he picked?
Yeah.
He picked number 8.
Oh, okay.
It was his baseball number.
Yep, that's Cal
Oh,
Ripken's
okay.
number.
And I remember it because I just edited the podcast, his episode.
Oh, gotcha.
So-
All right.
Oh, this actually goes with what we've been talking about.
All right.
Number 33, you said, right?
Yep.
Okay. Did you ever find the canopy? No, I'm joking.
What? Inside joke.
He did find it, actually. Yep. When we came out for the pet thing.
Oh.
God love him. My husband brings the canopy up, right? We
frame.
go to set it up. There's no top to it. He just has the frame.
Gosh.
He happened to walk over. Rich walked over at the exact same moment, and he looks at me and he looks at Damien and he goes, "Oh, you're in trouble, aren't you?" And he's like, "Do you need me to go home and get him?" I'm like, "Nope." And I refused to talk to him for like a good hour. And so thank God Rich had an extra one because he had no clue where the top to this canopy was. I'm pretty sure he found it because we had to use it a couple weeks ago.
It was
I think it was like in the box or something.
No, it was laying at home.
Like right
where
on,
he had it sitting.
Probably, yeah.
So,
It's just it's like when they go to look for something in a pantry or something. It's right in front of you.
Right.
Yeah.
so,
That's why I say God love him.
Where is it? I don't see it. Right here.
Let me tell you, he gets away with way too much because he's adorable. And I can tell you that. He knows that I will let him slide on a lot of things because he's really cute.
He doesn't do anything wrong.
Oh, yeah, sure. He couldn't find the damn canopy.
Well, maybe. I still think you actually took it out and hit it. Anyway, so question number 33. What's a small change you've made that has had a surprisingly big impact?
Ooh, that is really good. I'd say personally for me, it's trying to be more out in the open with our story, my story. It's not sheltering myself as much, not hiding, as much as Damien hid behind his addiction, I also hid behind it. So it's trying to be more present and more open and honest with everyone, our friends, our family, strangers, trying to just be more open about things and not having it constantly going in my head and spinning in a million different directions.
And I think because you guys are actually out there telling your stories, I don't think I know it. You guys are helping other people.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
That's why all this happened, because that was your calling for both of you to help other people.
Yeah. I don't disagree with that. I love when I go with him to any of these events or whatever, and even if I'm not talking to anyone, I'm really bad at public speaking. So the minute somebody asks me a question in front of a room, I just instantly start shaking. But I love sitting back and watching him.
He's good at it.
Oh, he's disgustingly good at it. He really is. And, I love it. He does get upset with me because, to be honest, I don't always listen to all of his podcasts because he has to understand when I explain this to him, I lived your story.
Yep.
You've lived your story, but I don't need to hear it over and over and over and over and over again. And I remember you asking me about his book the last time I was on with you. One, I still haven't read it, the first one. I refused to read it because I helped him write it, and it instantly got me so angry at him all over again. So the more I keep hearing your story over and over and over again, I'm going to get mad at you for no reason. And I don't want to, but I love watching him talk. I think he's amazing at it. And I love that he's able to go out there and speak to people. And when I do get asked to do things, literally.
I know. I was going to bring it up next.
Yeah.
Let me say it.
Yeah, go ahead. Please do.
I haven't known Alicia that long, but I think we first met when I co-hosted for the Damien's thing. And then maybe I don't even know, a couple other times. And then you guys came to the softball for sobriety. And we really sat there, they came to help. And by that time, all the big, stuff was taken care of. So we actually got to sit there and, talk and get to know each other a little bit. And so, as a board member of Rage, I'm always looking for somebody that I feel like I can connect with, because I'm not super good in a crowd, but if I can connect with you one-on-one, that's my people, which is my circle is very small. When I asked her, I was like, oh, I want to ask you something. I was like, do you want to be on the board? She was like, me? What, me?
What? Why?
What?
Why?
And I was like, because I think you would be good at it. Do you know what I mean? And this, what I'm trying to say is that when you say what's the one thing that you change, that is part of that growth that I see for you. And I'm super excited because you have a lot of wisdom. You've been through something, and you actually staying is harder than leaving.
Yeah.
Because you not only had to do work on yourself, he had to do work on himself. You had to do work as a couple. And not a lot of people have the bandwidth to do that.
Yeah.
I'm serious,
Yeah.
you know, and sometimes they stay together, but they're not healing.
Right.
And I really feel like you guys have like crossed over into like this, I don't know, like new chapter. And not everybody gets to do that. So I think it's really cool.
Yeah. I appreciate that. I mean,
And doesn't mean it's easy every day. I'm not saying that.
It's just like every other relationship out there. You know, we tiff like normal old married people do, and you know, I complain, he complains, mostly him, but you know, it's.
I think she's painting a way worse picture than it actually is, to be honest.
It is kind of disgusting sometimes that, you know, just I love that man. He really he saved my life. And when he and I first started dating, he came into my life when I needed him the most, and he legitimately saved my life. And
you reciprocated.
Right.
I was going to say, I
Yeah.
think you both saved each other's lives.
I think
Because
so.
if he wasn't with you, he probably wouldn't be in recovery.
No.
He may not even be here today. You never know.
Right. I don't disagree with that. I've tried, my therapist thinks it's hilarious that I try to literally rewrite history in my head. You know how we always like you go through things and you're like, oh, I wish it happened this way.
Yeah.
And then you start, you know, overanalyzing that. I have had to like literally try to rewrite our history of, you know, oh, well, we've been together since we were like 15. And he's like, if we were together that long, you realize that we wouldn't be together now. I'm like, but you think that our life together would have been how bad your life was at that time. But what if we started dating at 20 and I turned you around at 20 years old instead of 40 years old? Trust me, it all makes sense up in here. And he goes, well, I'm glad it didn't happen that way.
Oh my God, you just hurt my head.
I
Trust
was
me.
going to say, you lost me.
It makes
somewhere.
sense. Yeah, it's
It makes sense to you.
Exactly. Like I always say, you know, God, I wish we went through this period of our life together or this period of our life together. And he was like, yeah, if we were together at that age, I probably would have still been the same person, and I would have, you know, broken your
the
heart, blah blah
lessons
blah.
that
And I'm
you've
like,
had to learn
but
along the
what
way.
if it was the other way around and it was perfect?
Okay. What
Just trust me.
if is the biggest little word in the dictionary?
Oh, I used to get I worked with somebody decades ago that said, you are the biggest what if person I've ever met in my life. And I didn't think about it at the time. And I'm
not a what if person at
I am
all.
totally a what if. Like I won't get on an airplane. People say, why? Well, what if it falls to the ground? What if it blows up? What if it does that?
What if it doesn't?
But I hear the what ifs and it's worse.
Oh,
I know.
What if this was the end of the podcast? And what if it wasn't?
What if? Oh God, his wheels are spinning right now. I can see it.
I think that could be a fun podcast episode
What?
just on what ifs.
What ifs?
It could be dangerous too. On that note, thank you, Alicia.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. I really do appreciate this. I really do.
Oh, well, you
I
know you
know.
had to.
I know I had to because he signed me up for it, but
hard.
No.
And I'm going to tell you what I told Damien. The door is always
Yeah.
open. And just for the record, Wendy came to me and said, what do you think about getting Alicia on the board for Rage Against Addiction? And my first response was, oh, hell no.
No.
I'm not surprised.
Yes,
You
it was.
said, no, this
And
is
then
what,
I said, nah, I think she'd be good.
and no, he said, well, why not both of them? I said, because I said, I feel like she has a voice and I think she needs to be heard.
You are going to make me cry now.
Thank you for listening to Conversations with Rich Bennett. I hope you enjoyed today's episode and learned something from it as I did. If you'd like to hear more conversations like this, be sure to subscribe to the podcast so you never miss an episode. And if you have a moment, I'd love it if you could leave a review. It helps us reach more listeners and share more incredible stories. Don't forget to connect with us on social media or visit our website at conversationswithrichbennett.com for updates, giveaways, and more. Until next time, take care, be kind,
and keep the conversations going. You know, it takes a lot to put a podcast together, and my sponsors help out a lot, but I also have some supporters that actually help me when it comes to the editing software, the hosting, and so forth. There's a lot that goes into putting this together. So I want to thank them. And if you can, please visit their websites, visit their businesses, support them however you can. So please visit the following. Full Circle Boards. Nobody does charcuterie like Full Circle Boards. Visit them at fullcircleboards.com. Sincerely Sawyer Photography. Live in the moment. They'll capture it. Visit them at sincerelysawyer.com. The Joppatown Lions Club, serving the community since 1965. Visit them at joppatownlionsclub.org. And don't forget the E at the end of Joppatown, because they're extraordinary.